Well, Marvel Studios just gave us a glimpse into the future of the MCU, giving us many teasers for many of the upcoming shows that are going to be coming to Disney+. A lot of exciting clips shown in here, including our first look at Wonderman, along with some other really exciting first looks. We're going to break it all down for you in this video, and we'll just go ahead and start with the fact that they have now announced when Deadpool and Wolverine is going to hit streaming. It hits streaming November 12th. That is just 13 days away until you can watch Deadpool and Wolverine on streaming. So for those who have been waiting for that, you don't have to wait that much longer. But then we get a really awesome trailer for Daredevil Born Again. Now, throughout this trailer and throughout the one that was shown at Disney's D23 event, we really kind of get a feel like Matt Murdock is trying to put the Daredevil behind him and maybe focus on cleaning up the streets more so as a lawyer, but the Born Again could possibly refer to him having to become the Daredevil again, kind of fully embracing the Daredevil again. And obviously, since we had the Netflix Daredevil show, this is essentially the show being born again as well. But from what we know about what to expect from the show, it seems like Kingpin is going to be mayor of New York City in this show. They set this up very heavily with the post-credit scene of Echo, and it looks like it's going to play off in Daredevil Born Again, as the beginning of this trailer looks like it starts off with Kingpin actually being mayor, or at least running for mayor. He's coming out of a building in New York, and as you can see here in this still, a lot of people are trying to take pictures of him. It looks like he has people with him who are watching over him. So he's either mayor or running at this point. A lot of people know who he is. And in this scene, it looks like he runs into Matt Murdock. Kingpin says, "It's been some time, hasn't it?" And Matt Murdock looks like he has a very bad expression on his face. Looks like he just has a very bad taste in his mouth for Kingpin. Obviously, with everything that happened in the Daredevil series on Netflix, we understand why, but this could also just be edited in a certain way to make it seem like this particular scene is him reacting to Kingpin. It might not be that way. It could just be trailer editing. However, considering the fact that Kingpin and Daredevil end up having lunch together or breakfast, they go to this diner together, it does seem like perhaps Kingpin sees that Daredevil or Matt Murdock really doesn't like him. But keep in mind, at this point in time, he does know that Matt is Daredevil. And now that he's going to be mayor, or he's already mayor, he probably doesn't want the Daredevil on his back or Matt Murdock coming after him legally either. So it seems like maybe Kingpin says, "Hey, why don't we get together? It's been some time. A lot has changed. So let's talk." While they're meeting, Kingpin says, "You've come up in the world." And Daredevil says, "I could say the same about you." And again, this is referring to him being the mayor of New York City. And in this particular trailer, we hear Kingpin say, "I wonder if your darker half would agree," obviously referring to the Daredevil because, again, he knows who he is. Now, we know a little bit more about this particular scene because they showed us this at D23. And this particular trailer that they have just released is very edited in this particular scene. To not give too much away, but this is what they actually say. Matt Murdock says, "This city is as it's always been, out for blood. The city can't go unchecked." But Kingpin says, "Sometimes peace must be broken, chaos must reign." Now, throughout this trailer that they released today, we do see Muse, who is sort of the main villain of this series, at least for season 1. We know that there's going to be a season 2. Kingpin is sticking around in the MCU for a very long time. So I'm thinking season 1, Muse is the main villain. Then season 2, they get more back into Kingpin still being the villain, because right now it's really hard for Daredevil to go up against Kingpin if he's the mayor of New York City. Like, it's not good for Matt Murdock, but it's also not good for Daredevil. So in the scene right here, I believe Kingpin is trying to tell Matt Murdock, "Look, I'm the mayor now. I'm not really doing the shady stuff I did before. I put that behind me, but I do want to clean up this town. And if I have to kind of break the peace to do it, send my guys after these masked vigilantes and crime people, that's what he's going to have to do." But I also believe that he's asking for Daredevil's help. And I think he's asking for both Matt's help with him being a lawyer and Daredevil's help. And what he's really trying to do in this scene is just kind of get him on his side and off his back, because he knows that Matt has a lot of dirt on him. So he's trying to convince Matt that he put all of that behind him, but the Muse is still out there. Muse is still out there killing people. He's painting murals of Kingpin wearing crowns. He does this in the comics, so it's very comic accurate. I love it. But I think the two of them come to an agreement to try and take down Muse because in the trailer for D23, their conversation in the diner ends with Matt Murdock saying, "It seems like we really understand each other. So if you step out of line, I am going to be there." Kingpin replies, "This caution that you're giving me, who's it from? Matt Murdock or your darker half?" Matt just smiles and Kingpin starts to laugh in a very menacing way. So I basically believe that they have a conversation in the bar and Kingpin's like, "Look, I am good now. I do want to clean up the street. It might get a little messy, but look, I don't want you on my back. I could actually use your help with all of this." And Matt says, "Okay, I'll buy it for now. But the second you mess up, I'm there. I'm there as a lawyer and I'm there as the Daredevil." Now, throughout this trailer, we see some really epic action scenes with Daredevil fighting. He's fighting Muse at one point, and this is confirmed to be TV mature. It's going to be really dark and gritty. Marvel has already confirmed this, and Daredevil is even going to drop an F-bomb in the series. This is officially confirmed. So those who are worried that this might not be as gritty as the Daredevil Netflix series, it sounds like it might actually be a little bit more dark and a little bit more gritty. Now, if you fast forward to kind of the end of this trailer that Marvel released, you can actually see a scene with the Punisher. He is wearing the Punisher suit, as you can see. It looks like he's pretty pinned down. It looks like a special forces unit is on him. It's hard to tell if these are police or perhaps a private group hired by somebody. It does look like they have badges on them, so this could be the police. And right as he's pinned down and looks like he's about to get captured or possibly even killed, Daredevil comes in through the ceiling, busts in, kicking everybody's butt. So Frank Castle returns, the Punisher is back. There's been talks, and this is just a rumor, but talks about a possible mention of Jessica Jones in this, possibly setting her up for season 2 maybe. Kingpin and Daredevil are back, and Muse looks to be the main villain that is kind of bringing Kingpin and Daredevil together, at least for a little bit. But overall, this looks fantastic. The action looks amazing. Go ahead, let me know your thoughts about the Daredevil trailer they gave us in the comments down below. Now, the next big teaser trailer that we got in this was for Wonderman, and I'm really excited for this one because it seems very, very interesting. Now, for the story of Wonderman in the MCU, it looks like they're going pretty far off from what actually happens in the comics with Wonderman or Simon Williams. But I think Marvel Studios might have found a pretty interesting way to do this in the MCU. Clearly, with what we see here, Simon Williams is an actor. He's auditioning for a movie or for a show, and he's auditioning alongside the Mandarin, or the person who pretended to be the Mandarin in Iron Man 3, and who we saw once again in Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings, Trevor Slattery. In Shang-Chi, we saw him essentially get released, and he is now pursuing his passion once again, acting. It looks like him and Simon are up not for the same parts, but for parts in the show or in the movie together, and it looks like they both do indeed get the roles. Now, eventually, Simon does end up getting powers in this series, and he becomes Wonderman. This is very different than what happens in the comics. In the comics, his father is actually very wealthy. His father is industrialist Sanford Williams, and he owns Williams Innovations. When his father dies, Simon inherits the company, but the company's profits begin to fall. The company begins to fail because of its biggest competitor, Tony Stark and Stark Industries. Unfortunately, Simon's brother Eric gives him some really bad advice, and Simon tries to embezzle funds from the company, but he ends up being caught and incarcerated. So naturally, Simon blames Tony Stark for everything and ends up hating him, but he's actually bailed out by Enchantress and is taken to Baron Heinrich Zemo. Zemo ends up giving him powers, transforming him into an iron-powered superhuman, giving him superhuman strength, durability, the works. They go up to do a job against the Avengers, in which Simon, or Wonderman as Zemo starts to call him, is pretending to be an ally of the Avengers until the trap is placed, and then Zemo comes in. And Zemo tells Simon that his powers require constant additional doses, meaning if he doesn't get the serum every now and then, he will essentially die. But he ends up being on the Avengers side for real. He decides to not betray them. And that seemed to come at the cost of his life. However, unbeknownst to the Avengers, he was simply in a catatonic state. But then his brother Eric gets super pissed off, and he takes on the identity of the Grim Reaper and tries to destroy the Avengers. But while his body was in the catatonic state, Hank Pym actually records his brain patterns in hope that he can be revived one day. But ultimately, Ultron would get his hands on those wave patterns, and he would create Vision out of those wave patterns. So as you can see here, it doesn't look look like any of that's going to be happening in the MCU. However, since he is auditioning and seemingly gets the role for this movie or show, I think that they could actually be telling the comic story through the show or the movie that he's going to be in, which would be kind of clever. Then he actually gets the superpowers in real life and ends up helping maybe the Avengers, possibly the West Coast Avengers. We've heard about that. The Vision Quest series is coming. Perhaps he'll be involved in that in some way, shape, or form. Not much is really known at this point in time, but I do love the little teaser that we got. It's awesome to see Yahya Abdul-Mateen II in this, and it's awesome to see Ben Kingsley back as Trevor Slattery once again. Now, the other trailers that we got in this were super quick. We get a new look at Ironheart, a new look at a new suit that she has, and it looks really cool. The synopsis on Marvel.com reads, Marvel Studios' Ironheart stars Dominique Thorne as Riri Williams, a genius inventor who creates the most advanced suit of armor since Iron Man. So her armor is going to be extremely high tech, and we do see the Hood in this trailer, who she's going to start off kind of working for because she needs means to make her suits. So she ends up doing some pretty shady things with the Hood, and eventually she's going to go up against him, but he will have magical powers that he's said to have gotten from Mephisto, who is supposed to be played by Sacha Baron Cohen in this series. So it's supposed to be tech versus magic. Then we get very brief clips of the animated projects that Marvel Studios has coming out, including a look at your friendly neighborhood Spider-Man, who doesn't really seem incredibly friendly in this clip. In this clip, we see him fighting somebody in the streets. Looks to be a kid probably somewhat near the same age as him, and he tries to hit him with a brick. Spider-Man kicks him, the brick goes flying through the air. Spider-Man grabs it with his grapplers and smashes the brick on the back of his head, which you know could probably kill somebody. But in Spider-Man's defense, the guy was trying to hit him with the brick. His suit is pretty cool because we can tell that it's homemade. We can see the cords attached to the web slingers, powered by the device that he seems to be wearing on his belt. In this, we know that it's an alternate reality Peter Parker. This is not set in the MCU. In fact, it's set in a universe where instead of Tony Stark being his mentor, it's actually Norman Osborn. They only show a few seconds of this clip, but the animation and the action does look pretty good so far, and I'm really excited to see where this is going to go. They then show us extremely brief clips of Marvel's What If Season 3. Looks like we have Nick Fury, Agent Coulson, and what appear to possibly be Skrull or Dark Elves behind him. I say possibly Dark Elves because we do see them in another scene here with an army. Then we also get two really cool things here. We get Cowboy Shang-Chi, then we get a Gundam Captain America, which I think looks really, really cool. Then we get really brief clips, once again, of Marvel Zombies, and it looks like there's a lot of characters who are going to be zombies, including Captain America. It also looks like Okoye is going to be a zombie, but we do see Blade in this. We see Natasha Romanoff, and later on in the trailer, they actually show a clip of a zombie Thanos with the Infinity Gauntlet. Now, if you look, he doesn't have all of the stones. He only seems to have 5. From the colors that we see, it looks like he has orange, red, blue, purple, and on his thumb, it appears to be green for the Time Stone. So that means he is missing the Mind Stone. If that orange one is the Soul Stone, then he's missing yellow, which would be the Mind Stone. So that'll be really interesting to see, a zombie Thanos wielding a almost fully complete Infinity Gauntlet. And last but not least, we have an extremely short clip of Eyes of Wakanda. This show will focus on Wakandan warriors throughout history who have traveled the world to retrieve dangerous vibranium artifacts. And what's really interesting about this show is that it has been announced that this is going to be canon not only to the MCU, but it's actually going to be taking place inside of the sacred timeline. So everything that happens in this show is taking place in the main timeline. So that should be really, really interesting to see. And that is it. And with the exception of What If Season 3 coming out at the end of this year, the rest is a huge glimpse into what is coming from Marvel Studios / Marvel Television in 2025. Please go ahead, let us know your thoughts about this in the comments down below. Does this excite you? These lists of projects coming, are they exciting to you or not? And if they're not, please let us know why in the comments down below. Please don't forget to like this video and subscribe so you can stay up to date on everything with the MCU. You can find us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook. And as always, thank you all so much for watching. Woof woof.